preguntado cómo expandir tu negocio y llegar a mercados internacionales? Con nuestras capacitaciones puedes lograrlo. Si eres un actor de la economía popular y solidaria, MIPYME, exportador, potencial exportador o migrante ecuatoriano en el exterior, te invitamos a sumarte. Obtendrás los conocimientos básicos para introducirte en el mundo del comercio exterior, los requisitos, tendencias y estudios de mercado, así como los beneficios de los acuerdos comerciales. Te guiaremos en la comercialización de tus productos en línea y en la gestión de redes sociales orientadas al comercio internacional. Además, te proporcionaremos insights sobre los procesos y administración de riesgos en el transporte internacional. Conviértete en el próximo exportador y conquista el mundo con ProEcuador.
Muy buen día con todos los asistentes. El Ministerio de Producción, Comercio Exterior, Inversiones y Pesca, a través de la Dirección de Balcón de Servicio al Exportador y la Oficina Comercial del Ecuador en Canadá, y en coordinación con la empresa Café Williams, les agradecen por participar de la capacitación virtual Oportunidades y desafíos para el café ecuatoriano en el mercado canadiense. El objetivo de esta capacitación es brindar a los participantes una visión integral sobre el mercado del café en Canadá, abordando su situación actual, tendencias de consumo y dinámica comercial, así como los principales retos y oportunidades para el sector ecuatoriano. En el evento intervendrá el ingeniero Juan Carlos Altamirano Delgado, consejero comercial de la Oficina Comercial del Ecuador en Canadá, y Serge Picard, propietario de Café Williams. Información a tomar en consideración. Pueden realizar sus preguntas a través del chat y 10 minutos antes de finalizar la conversación se darán respuesta a las inquietudes más relevantes. Solo estarán activos los micrófonos para los organizadores, coorganizadores y panelistas. A través del chat se remitirá el link de encuesta de evaluación del evento. Solicitamos gentilmente la colaboración de cada uno de ustedes, completando la encuesta que dura aproximadamente 2 minutos. Sus respuestas serán tratadas de forma confidencial y serán utilizadas únicamente para mejorar el servicio que les proporcionamos. De parte de este ministerio esperamos que el evento sea un éxito y su total agregado. Doy paso a Juan Carlos Altamirano, quien dará inicio a la capacitación virtual Oportunidades y desafíos para el café ecuatoriano en el mercado canadiense. Bienvenido, Juan Carlos.
Buenos días, muchísimas gracias, Rudy. Bienvenidos a todos, gracias por estar presentes en esta capacitación. Thank you very much, Serge, for being here and give us your valuable time. Thanks for that. Esta capacitación va a constar de dos secciones. Al inicio, pues yo daré una breve descripción del comportamiento del consumidor acá en Canadá, algo breve también respecto a estadísticas de exportación, y a continuación tendremos una conversación con Serge, pues que nos contará pues en base a su experiencia sobre el café en Canadá. Serge, this presentation is going to be two parts. The first part is going to be a short introduction about consumer behavior, which I'm gonna be doing. And after that, we're going to start our conversation.
Fantastic. Buenos dias, and thank you for having me. Apologies for my lack of proper Spanish speaking skills. I do understand quite a bit, but unfortunately, it's better either to translate what I'm going to say or have your assistance in that matter. So French and English are the base in Canada, so that's what I go with. But I'm working hard to learn my Spanish and improve. But very happy to be here.
Thank you. No, I'm sure we're not going to have problems. It was mentioned that this webinar was going to be taught in English, basically. But we're going to do it in the first part in Spanish, second part in English. So I'm going to start. Thank you very much. Bueno, muchísimas gracias. Como lo mencioné, pues esta primera parte será dada en español. Es sobre el comportamiento, oportunidades y desafíos en el mercado canadiense. Más específicamente me enfocaré en el consumidor y un poco, como mencioné, estadísticas de importaciones de Canadá y exportaciones de Ecuador. Entonces, empiezo con esta diapositiva que es obtenida de la Asociación de Café de Canadá. En esta diapositiva pues se nos brinda alguna información relevante. Por ejemplo, hay un dato estadístico. Primero empecemos con algo. El café es la segunda bebida más consumida en Canadá. Al decir la segunda, la primera es el agua y luego va el café. El 74% de los canadienses han reportado consumir café el día anterior. Esto es respecto al 2024. El 71, incluso bueno, en esta estadística el 71% indicó que tomaba agua de la llave, agua en botella 46%, té 43% y pues café 74%. El 30% de las personas tomó el día anterior una bebida basada en un expreso. Esto sería un latte, un expreso, un americano, es decir, algo que viene de un expreso, es decir, del grano del café. El consumo del café aumentó un 6% respecto al 2023 y 2024. Y pues ha habido un incremento en bebidas frías, en el consumo de bebidas frías de café. Por ejemplo, en esta gráfica acá se puede ver que el 21% ha tomado por lo menos una bebida fría, frozen, de café, pues la semana pasada. Nos muestra que hay un consumo elevado de este tipo de bebidas también. En esta siguiente diapositiva podemos ver que los consumidores jóvenes de café son más propensos a tomar bebidas con beneficios para la salud. Por ejemplo, está reportado que 8 en 10 jóvenes, 8 en 10 canadienses nunca ha probado y nunca ha escuchado la palabra Profi, que viene de Protein Coffee. Asimismo, el 39 de los jóvenes indican que es probable que compren estos productos versus únicamente un 9% de la población de 50 años o más. Entonces, esto nos demuestra pues que este tipo de productos va enfocado a este nicho de población joven. De ahí pues podemos decir, ya lo mencioné, que el 80% de los canadienses no han oído, pues por ejemplo, el término profit. Entonces es importante, si es que uno tiene este tipo de productos, también considerar de que tiene que ir de la mano con una fuerte introducción en desarrollo de mercado, desarrollo de marca, de hacer conocer el producto, ¿no? Ahora, un dato interesante, según la República de Colombia, es un artículo publicado por ellos en el 2022, indica que Canadá tiene el mayor consumo de café en América. El vicepresidente Juan Valdés para la época 2022 mencionó lo siguiente, que Canadá, el consumidor canadiense, tiene un alto conocimiento respecto al café, en calidades incluso, que el volumen de café tostado es mayor que el instantáneo, es decir, que el soluble, y a diferencia de otros lugares donde ellos comercializan. Y también dice que el 87% de las ventas de ellos es café tostado para Canadá. La TFO, que es Trade Facilitator Office en Canadá, indica en el 2019 que el 60% de los granos verdes importados en Canadá fueron orgánicos. Esto pues aquí nos muestra un poco en esta imagen se nos muestra un poco el consumo de café por países. Por ejemplo, podemos comparar Canadá con Estados Unidos, 3.5, 3.5, bueno, disculpen, no tengo ahorita la medida, la omití, pero pues podemos notarlo que en América es el mayor. Si lo comparamos, por ejemplo, con Europa, pues sí, ellos tienen un mayor consumo, incluso que en América. Esto respecta a las importaciones de café en Canadá. Podemos ver pues el comportamiento, el total, esto es en dólares, importados desde el 2000 al 2024. Me fijaré principalmente en la primera fila que corresponde al café sin tostar ni descafeinar. Podemos ver pues que hubo del 2020 al 2022 un incremento, luego hubo una disminución, finalmente pues 2024 ha habido un repunte. Todas estas son las importaciones de café con respecto al mundo. Así, el mismo comportamiento o similar han tenido los diferentes, ¿no? La siguiente diapositiva, vemos en cambio cómo han sido las exportaciones de Ecuador hacia Canadá. Podemos notar que, a diferencia, por ejemplo, del anterior, que ha habido, se podría decir un incremento, en este caso ha habido una disminución del 2022 al 2024, pasando de $433,000 2022 a llegar a un $185,000 en 2024. Un aproximado de las exportaciones de Ecuador hacia Canadá representan aproximadamente un 2% del total de lo que exportamos como Ecuador al resto del mundo. Esto pues así como grandes datos generales. Y pues a continuación tendremos pues una conversación con el señor Serge Picard, propietario de la empresa Café Williams, que con él pues conversaremos basado en su conocimiento mucho mejor todo lo mencionado. Hello, Serge.
Hello.
That was a quick review about consumer behavior, most of it taken from the Association of Coffee of Canada.
Yes.
Okay, so well, it is actually an honor to have you here, and based on your experience, you maybe can tell us a little bit more first about your company, if it is good for you, and also about the market size, qualities, and anything you can tell us about the coffee industry here in Canada.
Absolutely. Well, first of all, very happy, honored to be here. Serge Picard. I actually I'm one of the owners of Cafe William. Have been with the company for close to 30 years in as an active owner. And I'm actually based out in the USA right now, and was responsible for the expansion in the US market from our Canadian production. That was up to a couple of weeks ago until we started a trade war, or we've got very new realities in the import and export with the negotiation of the Trump administration right now with the rest of the planet, basically. So Cafe William started off as a food service supplier, mainly in private label, and so office coffee service and food service, so mainly restaurants, cafeterias, hotels, and offices. And we started expanding maybe 20 years ago in the retail market, so with retail grocery chains and full apparel and food, like Costco as a big retailer, which has a very big part of the market in Canada. We're one of the biggest private coffee roasters in Canada, because there are some big players also, but they might be from divisions of public companies or owned as divisions or satellite divisions from big international companies. So we're private, Canadian based, and Canadian owned. We are also one of the top importers of specialty coffee. So either higher grade and different certifications from, and we can discuss a little more of that, but fair trade, organic, Rainforest Alliance, pretty much any type of certification. If coffee has it, we most likely are certified. And then we do the local retail certifications like kosher for products here in North America, and other specific ones that could be localized or country based for as far as certifications. And we export quite a bit. We'll import and transform in Canada, but we will export quite a bit to the US market with either retailers or food service clients, both in private label and in branded in both sectors. The majority, almost the totality of what we do on the retail side will be with Arabica higher end coffees with different certifications. And in the food service, there might be segments that will use Robusta or Canilons for different types of blends for pricing or different markets.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a bit of a snapshot of the company. We have been very aggressively developing and growing with our brand, which is Cafe William Coffees, across Canada. We're listed in basically everything. If it's a grocery chain, we supply it. So, in I believe just this year we became the #1 growing brand in Canada. Our geographically, we're situated on the east coast of Canada in the province of Quebec. So we started getting quite a bit of coverage there, but now are expanding and pushing west to the rest of the country. So, and have been pretty active in that field in the recent years.
Okay, okay.
So hopefully that provides a outlook. If you have any questions, please go
Yeah,
ahead.
perfect. Yeah, actually, I have some questions. Uh, well, you mentioned about the trade war right now with Canada and United States.
Yep.
Well, but we have as Ecuador, we use a USD, right? United States dollars, American dollar.
Yep.
So, how about this affect Ecuador when we want to do businesses with Canada? Is there a way to mitigate this disadvantage in case there is one?
Well, it definitely hurts, and we see it with the different countries and the pricing. Uh, Interestingly, we believe, at least the big trading firms, think that the recent decrease that we experienced in the coffee market from over $4 to pretty quickly to 3.40 or 3.50 was caused by the new trade tariffs that the US imposed on the whole planet of 10% and
Hmm.
more. So the 10% uh, basically now is a new cost for importing coffee in the US. And the reaction to that seems to have been a devaluation of the different countries' currency. So that puts the countries that operate and are based off of the US dollar at a disadvantage because they cannot really do that
Hmm.
unless you reduce the price of the commodity. So it seems that uh, the big countries, Colombia and Brazil, are looking to slowly devalue their currency to be able to absorb and not lose market share in the US uh, with the different coffee roasters. So
Okay.
yes, that would be a slight disadvantage, but exporting to Canada, um, Canada has to buy everything coffee wise. It's a commodity that's traded in US dollars.
Hmm.
So for us, it doesn't really make a difference because we're going to purchase in US dollars anyway. All the
Yeah.
transactions are going to be done in US dollars.
Okay.
So we look when we price the coffee, we're going to look at the price of the commodity, the coffee itself. But when we sell it in Canada, we obviously have to be very cognizant of the exchange rate between the Canadian dollar and the US dollar, uh,
Yeah.
which right now it's actually improving. The Canadian dollar is gaining some strength, so that helps us buy more coffee
Okay.
to sell in
Perfect.
Canada.
Yeah. Another question. Thank you for that. That was very clear, actually. Uh, I know that, okay, the main players are, let's say, Brazil. Also, Guatemala is selling a lot of coffee here to Canada. Uh, for example, in the case of Guatemala, for example, what big difference they have against Ecuador, or why they more they have more presence here in Canada than Ecuador? Or and another question, how can we promote more the coffee? What can we do as Ecuador? What do you think we can do more as Ecuador to promote our coffee there? and to have
So
more.
that's actually a very interesting question and uh, way to think of not the problem, but how to solve and get better market penetration um, for Ecuador. So there's been evolution, and we saw it in your presentation and in the slides, and not just with the younger generation, but the general population uh, will tend to improve on their coffee experience. And I'll explain what experience means a little more. Everybody used to drink when I was young. My parents would tell me we wake up on weekends to go boil some water to start the boiler because they were going to make when they wake up they wanted a cup of coffee. Their coffee was instant coffee. That's what probably 95% of the people drank. Now that changed over the years, and same with other beverages. Most people were beer and spirit drinkers, and now they evolved. I guess it's evolution to wines and higher quality wines over the years, and we see that proportion going up. We're seeing the exact same thing in coffee, where you go from originally instant coffee, moving up to blended, I'll say average coffees like Folgers or to some work with specialty origin coffee and starting to understand what that market is. And Juan Valdez in Colombia, with their campaign, was they were very aggressive in explaining the whole concept of either handpicked coffee or what the quality coffee was compared to uh, instant coffee that's might be commercial but lesser taste and profile. And now people are actually seeking a story and an experience, and the level of education that we've seen over the years keeps going up. And it could be from what they want to taste, and that's significant over the years. We've saw the change, but also what they want to support. We discussed a few certifications. Fair trade was probably non-existent 15 years ago in Canada in coffee. We were one of the first ones to introduce it and paired with organic and made it our niche, but now our specialty also. So the market is evolving to a level that it's not just what used to be farm to cup. Now, if you can have the story and the information that the grower or uh, what it represents and why is it different, anything that's surrounding the experience is what now people are looking for and willing to pay a premium for it. So they'll go up to specialty coffee, SCA cup score, even a different story. To be honest, it's been difficult to source coffee in the past from Ecuador,
Okay.
uh, just for physical delivery and or access to uh, cooperatives or export groups. And we've attempted in the past, and we to some level of success, and hence working with you to help us engage and have direct links with either growers or cooperatives or groups to help us facilitate the transaction. Because we believe that there's a market, and because it's not just difficult for us, it's difficult for any coffee roaster. There's not a lot of Ecuador coffee on the shelves in retailers. You could have a few brokers that would import a container and then maybe split it up, and it would be more present at the coffee shop level, a small roastery. because it's a exotic coffee because it's difficult to get. But what we attempted to do by joining with a US retailer was to buy a lot and talk about the region and the coffee itself and how different it is. And people love to explore. A portion of the population loves to explore and get a new story, which is exactly what we're doing with the coffee sourced from the Zamora region to showcase and explain to the consumer why is this different, why is it unique, and keep building and educating the customer with that.
Okay, perfect. So you mentioned very important is now to tell a story and to create an experience for the customer, right? And about the flavor, do you think
Yes,
Ecuadorian coffee has a good flavor, a good quality? Yeah.
completely. And that's obviously we when we started from initially discussing from the instant coffee, very low grade coffee, up to it has to be present, and the experience uh, in the cup quality has to be by default a present and a factor. It's very important. Uh, and hence, for the value added product, if the cup score goes up, also with the cup profile. And
Perfect.
that's also part of the journey where we're working with different countries. You were mentioning Guatemala, but we're working with the different origin countries that can process the coffee differently. We started introducing honey processing of coffee,
Hmm.
where they dry it in the fruit without the skin. Um, Fermented coffee. Uh, we'll do natural sun-dried coffee, which is very different than a pure 100% washed coffee. And the consumer, the customer is willing to experience and get out of their comfort zone to learn about new processes and taste and understand the differences uh, and explore. So that's the main driver, and that's what's allowing us to go source coffee from a different region that's not present and keep building on that and growing while you educate the consumer.
Okay, great. Also, here comes another question. You said instant coffee used to be the majority, like couple of not couples, many years ago. What how is the market right now related to the instant coffee? People still consuming or not
Yeah,
anymore?
it's still very present. It's the number one produced coffee on the export level in the world.
Hmm.
Uh, but you see the ways are changing. The fastest growing is Arabica coffee and quality coffee, but there's still a market for instant coffee and different processes that are going to require it, like cold brew could have concentrates. Um, that's another very big, as we saw in your presentation, market that's growing, both instant,
Hmm.
ready to drink, cold brew, and different variations prepared at the restaurant level or even at uh, coffee shops and bottled or refrigerated or
Yeah,
even
yeah,
warm. Yep.
that kind of is perfect. Another question over here. Do you think that it would be an asset for Ecuadorian coffee to have all these, let's say, fair trade, organic rainforest in if we want to compete in the international market? Do you think maybe buyers will be more open to deal with us showing those kind of certifications?
I think it's a mix of yes and no.
Okay.
Uh, there are markets and different buyers that will request specific um, certifications for different categories. I don't think every cooperative should go and or grower try to get every certification out there. There's a specialty. If you're a mass commercial grower, maybe it doesn't make that much sense to try to go fair trade or organic. And what we see quite a bit with, especially since the price increase of the commodity, is a lot of demand for our FA, Rainforest Alliance coffee, since the merger with UTZ 5, 6 years ago.
Mhm.
There's a demand for different certifications, but at the same time, there's been over certification in the market of different coffees, and now you have sometimes too many labels on the coffee bags themselves, and it causes confusion. And people have the end customer and the grower sometimes have difficulty understanding if they are worth it or not because there are costs associated
Yeah.
uh, for everybody, including us as a roaster. We need to be certified and be able to provide under the different certifications.
Okay. Okay. Perfect. There's one question, and I think I might be answering one question that I have over here. Uh, which events would you recommend our coffee producers to participate? Let's say here in Canada to showcase their products.
So,
Maybe. Mhm.
yeah, the because of the specialty, I would definitely it's Canada and the US. So most, if not all, the Canadian buyers will attend US trade shows, and the specialty coffee trade shows are much less present in Canada because they're so specialized. They will be in the US. So I would definitely look to participate in the Specialty Coffee Association
Mhm.
and the NSA, which is not a trade show per se, it's more a meeting that just happened a couple months ago. They're both in the US.
Could you repeat
In Canada,
the name of that one?
the I think it's the NSA. I'll provide you the info.
SA. Perfect.
And this one just happened. A Specialty Coffee Association this year is in Houston, and it's in a couple weeks, I believe. So
Okay.
those and I'm not aware if Ecuador has a pavilion, but a lot of the growing countries actually will have a pavilion present,
Okay.
and the different growers with export certifications or groups will be present. I think Ecuador was at the Specialty Coffee Association. Um, but to like more important than a certification, if we come back to the story, I'll give you an example of what one product that we did. Uh, it was from Honduras, and it's international bird reserve protected area,
Okay.
and it's the colibri, the hummingbird,
Yep.
Colibri esmeralda, and it's organic by nature just because they're not allowed to use pesticides and insecticides.
Mhm.
Uh, I don't even know if they have the official USDA certification. I believe so, but uh, the park is on top of a mountain, and around it are coffee farms. Uh, it's the only place in the world where that bird uh, uh, lives and reproduces. So you have bird watchers that come from all over the world to see it.
Mhm.
And by providing the environment around the bird protected area, the coffee farmers were able to associate the story of the bird to their coffee. So they can market and trade the bird and promote the coffee as Esmeralda coffee.
Okay.
And you can put a picture of the bird on their retail bag.
Yeah, for sure.
That speaks to the consumer very quickly. There are different examples of that. Um, we're doing something from Colombia right now with indigenous uh, population, the Arahuacos, and we're promoting them as like a couple thousand-year-old indigenous population that plants coffee and is obviously very in tune with nature and protecting the earth. So those stories, always with, to your earlier point, with a very good cup of coffee, but added information of uh, what the consumer is buying and how they're helping, or the exchange, the trade of, here's my money, but in exchange, I'm getting your specialty coffee and I want to know how it's grown. That speaks to the consumer. And that's a way to get in with a good story, uh, practices that are around that. Uh, there's been a lot of farm to cup where you see Jose or Juan with his cup of coffee, and you'll know where it was grown. And but to have that scalable around a project, or it could be reforestation. We hear a lot about of Amazon deforestation, but a cooperative that is basically reforesting or rebuilding the environment
Mhm.
uh, with every pound of coffee that's sold, etc. And uh, that's the type of story that sells a lot.
Okay.
And we were told by big retailers, buyers of retail, big buyers at these big retail companies, that they would rather have, instead of an amazing cup of coffee with a 90 score SCA, uh, with no real story, they'd rather have a great cup of coffee with an amazing story, because that sells. And
Yeah,
for
that's
them, that's, they, if they're not selling our coffee, they're selling tea or another product. So they want sales, and they want to engage with a consumer and provide the service that they're exchanging money for. So
yeah, that is very true what you're saying, and actually that show us that the Canadian and uh, United States consumers are very, like, very tech, well, they have a lot of knowledge, as I mentioned before, like has a lot of knowledge, and also are aware of the surrounded, like the environment and everything. So that's very interesting. I always
yeah,
remember the time I met you. You were doing a master class about, well, this green coffee you mentioned from Colombia,
yes.
and all the history around that. I never forget it, and I will never forget it. Also, what impacts me a lot was about the sale, how you transport that coffee. That was
Yeah.
very interesting.
So, and thank you. And that's uh, exactly what we're trying to do, because you could get a cup of coffee anywhere. They're sold at every street corner. You can buy 15, 20 different brands of coffee on the shelf. How do you make it different and differentiate? People love coffee. They would be very upset if they didn't have it. Uh, but coffee has a big environmental footprint also, because, as you mentioned, it's the most consumed beverage after water in North America. But it's also the beverage that has the highest environmental and energy footprint. And for us as a company, that's, we only do coffee. We don't do tea. We don't do water. We only do coffee. So we want it to be part of the solution. And so even if we buy the best coffee from Ecuador or Colombia, where the farmer uses very environmentally conscious methods to produce, it still boards a tanker ship that's going to burn bunker fuel or very dirty fuel to come to us. As a matter of fact, like 90% of the coffee that's grown worldwide is exported to be processed and consumed. So
Yeah,
that's a lot of shipping of coffee.
yeah, that's right.
So what we looked at was a little crazy, but how to transport coffee cleanly, so more environmentally. from the country of origin to our shore, either in Canada or the US. So we started doing some tests that were very difficult, but we finally actually loaded the biggest cargo sail boat, so with sails, and loaded it in Colombia and brought it to the shores of Canada, in Quebec City specifically, last November. And there was 1 million kilos of coffee on the ship, 50 containers.
Wow. That's
So,
awesome.
and that was specifically from Colombia, the Ottawa Coast Coffee, the NE cooperative. So we just bought uh, a couple containers of coffee from Ecuador that I think arrived last week and will be promoted as pure 100% single origin Zamora region coffee. So we love doing that, and down the road we could even work with our sailboat partners to pick it up by sailboat and bring it to the shores. It's a little more expensive than dirty bunker fuel shipping, but consumers, well, let's put it like this: you don't need a university PhD degree in environmental science, or you don't need to be an engineer to understand what a sailboat is, and it uses the wind and it's clean. So if you can put the picture of the sailboat on the packaging, the consumers, they get it instantly.
Mhm.
There's other stuff that we also do to remove fossil fuels from the process, but uh, like we use hydroelectricity to roast coffee instead of natural gas. Uh, but that's less for the common consumer. It's more on the B2B level with
Mhm.
the big corporations. But so yeah, those are exactly the story, to build the story around the product instead of just saying or showing up to either a trade show. Just coming from Ecuador is pretty unique because, as we said, it has not been this easy to import coffee from Ecuador, or starting with the sourcing of the coffee. But to come with something a little more unique that differentiates a cup of coffee from Ecuador than a cup of coffee from Peru
Mhm.
is amazing.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
that
yeah.
helps on the commercialization. It helps to get a better price for the coffee, uh, and everything flows after.
Perfect. And I have one last question. Well, actually, the last one is very easy, but well, do you think it is possible for, well, in Ecuador we have final brands, like roasted coffee brands. Do you think it is possible for them to sell their brands into Canada, or consumer wants like really fresh toasted coffee? How, how about that?
We've explored that. Usually, it's the second. So with that knowledge base of the consumer, the fresher the coffee is roasted, it can't be too fresh like the same week, because then I won't be as good to produce or to consume. But the fresher it's roasted, and that's been ingrained and taught to the consumer, the better it is.
Okay.
And the more the knowledge chain goes up, because not every consumer is at the same level, uh, the more information they get. Now we're actually are being requested by big retailers to put the roasted date
Okay.
of
Okay.
the coffee on the packaging instead of the best by date, which would be your coffee's good for a year.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, so you could tell when it was roasted, but now they want the roasted date. So that puts the exporter of roasted coffee at a disadvantage, but it opens up opportunities to uh, co-partnerships where, if there is a brand that's we can work together. We do the same thing like beer and wines do, where they might ship them in vrac, but then they get bottled in the country, or simply brewed. They provide the recipe and you brew it at the country where it's going to be consumed. So those are possibilities. If there are big brands in Ecuador, hey, we'll talk with them.
Okay, perfect, perfect. And my last question, and very simple. What kind of coffee from Ecuador have you tried? What provinces? Oh.
So we the Zamora coffee quite a bit, and actually um, consumed it. And we had done a project explaining how Quito, with the mountains and the volcano, was cherished, and the nature, but Zamora would be our very big
The one,
favorite.
the one.
Yep.
Okay. And have you ever been in Ecuador before?
Nope, I'd love to go. Been to a few other growing regions, but yeah, if you'd have us, I'd love to go visit.
Yeah, you're more than invited. Thank you,
Fantastic. We'll
Serge.
set it
Thank
up.
you, Serge. Yeah, thank you for all the information. Really valuable information. Thanks a lot. I think
Absolutely, my pleasure.
there might be a question. Let me see.
Okay.
Maybe we can give them like a couple of minutes to see if there are questions.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
thank you. Por favor, si alguien tiene alguna pregunta, pudiera escribirla y pues así sea en español, yo la puedo traducir.
Sí, tenemos una pregunta, puedes revisarla, Juan Carlos, te la pasé.
Sí, well, someone, Teresa, is asking, will Café Williams will be present in Seattle, Canada? I guess this year, Seattle.
Yes, I believe so. We're at
Yeah,
the CI Canada. Yep.
perfect. And there is
Go.
another convention. It's about health.
CHFA.
See, yeah, that one.
Yeah, yes, we've done that one many years. The Canadian Health Food Association.
Yeah, exactly.
So yes, we did the CHFA show many times. That one would go West Coast, East Coast, so Vancouver. So very expensive to travel with a full team for us, but I think the Seattle is next week, and our team will be present. I won't, or I think it's this week.
Yeah,
So that's a show that's directed for obviously retailers, and that one also they do two usually, East Coast, West Coast. I believe it's in Toronto.
Yeah, this year, Toronto, April
Yep.
29th. Yep.
Another very big show also is the one in California, the the Westpac.
Okay.
But that's starting to be very, very big with thousands of showcases. But the SCA is a very central to the coffee community and retailers show to attend.
Perfect, perfect. Thank you. Tal vez hay alguna otra pregunta, por favor.
No, aparentemente no hay más preguntas, igual nos queda todavía 1 minuto y medio para concluir el evento. No sé si Juan Carlos tú quieras decir algunas palabras para finalizar el evento. O sea,
Okay. Well, to finish this webinar, first of all, thank you very much again, Serge. It's been an honor
Absolutely.
to have your experience and knowledge here sharing with us. Thanks a lot in the name of Pro Ecuador and the whole Ecuador. Thanks for that.
My
Con
pleasure.
Thank you. Respecto a los participantes, les agradezco de igual manera muchísimo por participar en este seminario. Espero que haya sido y que sea de mucha utilidad y que la información que hayan podido recibir pues les sea muy valiosa. Espero que tengan una excelente tarde. Muchísimas gracias. Thank you very much.
muchísimas gracias Juan Carlos, muchísimas gracias a Certicar. Indicarles antes de concluir el evento que la presentación y el video de esta capacitación será enviado por correo electrónico de 3 a 5 días laborables una vez finalizado. Muchísimas gracias, tengan una excelente tarde. Hasta luego.
Thank you. Hello.
Thank you.